Christy Mattoon here with Mind Rewire. It is good to be here with you. Making sure I got my settings right here. I had promised the other day on Instagram that I would go through some of these charts, like the emotion code chart, some charts that I use to find and figure out emotions that are stuck in the system. And I'm going to teach you how to do that. So that's what this video is about today. If you're a muscle tester, or even if you're not, there's ways that you can kind of hone in a little bit better and start to understand your emotional IQ a little bit better. Keep watching as we go through these, and I'm going to show you some specific charts like the one I have back here behind me that have these emotions listed on them. I actually posted this one the other day on Instagram, so you can find that over there at Mind Rewire, Christy Mattoon on Instagram. You'll find me over there. And then also this video will be on YouTube. So subscribe to my channel, follow me on Instagram. It'll probably get stuck over on Facebook also because it just kind of shares all over the place, but you can find it there too. So if you're a muscle tester, how this works is pretty simple. If you're not, it might be a little bit more complicated. It might actually be a little less complicated because we're taking a whole part of it out of the picture. But what I'm going to show you, and I'm going to pull this chart forward first, and we'll take a look at it because it's kind of the easiest to use and to do. And they're all the same, really. You can pull pretty much any chart offline that has emotions listed on it and be able to do this. So I'm hoping you can see most of that anyway. So what you're seeing is a chart that has different colored, let me turn it this way, different colored sections on it. So yellow, white, blue, green, red. This chart is actually something I got years ago from a class I had taken, and I still use it today. It's usually hanging on my wall. I even have little minis of it that look like this. There we go, look like that. So I have those at my disposal pretty easily. But inside of each one of these sections, there's lists of emotions, right? So if you look in this yellow one, it's disgust, over responsibility, self-consciousness, obsession, egotism, oversympathy. In the bottom half, it's a whole different list. Down here, it actually shows you organ points and organs that this is all related to. And then it goes down, so each different section is related to different organs. The top of the section is a darker color, a darker version of the color. The bottom half is lighter, and because there's so many over here in this red section, they divided it up into 3 different areas, but there's so many different organs included in this area, so it's easier to get through. So basically how any of these charts work is you would muscle test, or you would ask yourself which column it's in first. Is it in yellow, white, blue, green, or red? And then for those of you that are muscle testers, you would literally be muscle testing that. So if I'm using, like this form of muscle testing, do I have an emotion in yellow, white, blue, green? So it broke at green. So for me, that was a confirmation that I would be in green or red. So I'm in green. Is it top of green? Is it bottom of green? Mine is always in bottom of green. So then I would literally go through these emotions and one at a time test each one. Is it anger, irrationality? That's awesome, right? And so then I would just stop at irrationality, and I would use whatever method I use to clear emotions, and I would clear irrationality. So for me, that would be using a higher level feeling combined with a whole brain state. And I would just sit and I would clear irrationality until I don't feel an impulse to it anymore. So you can also do this by holding on to the organ point. So if you know what organ point or what organ it's associated to, so if I look at this green side again, it's liver, gallbladder, I would just put my hands like literally in the area of liver, gallbladder. And I would just hold on. Where is liver, gallbladder? It's on your right side, I believe. So I'd put my hand on my right side, and I would sit in that whole brain state. I would think about irrationality, whatever that might mean to me in that moment, in this moment, for just a few seconds. And then I would go straight into a higher level feeling, and I would sit there holding that feeling over irrationality until it cleared the system. And then you go back and test it by feeling for irrationality. Do I still feel irrational about whatever that's related to? So that's how you would use a chart like this. Go through each color, find out which color it's in, go through top or bottom, where is it at, and then go through each emotion by itself, find out which emotion it specifically is, hold on to the organ point that's associated to it, let it clear the issue. Let it clear the feeling or the pathway, however you look at that kind of thing. Very simple to use. If you're doing it just by feeling alone, and this is how I tend to do things more so now than I ever have before, is I'll just go through and scan it, and wherever it stops, right? Wherever my scan, even if I'm working with somebody else, I'll start scanning and my scan will stop somewhere, and that's where I stop. So more on the intuitive side. So if you're more of an intuitive person, if you have that ability, or if you've been honing that ability, start reading through lists and just notice where you stop. You can actually put your finger on them and come down, and you'll feel a difference. If you're thinking about a certain person or a certain issue, you'll feel it in your fingertips. And that's where you would stop and clear that emotion. Does that make sense? And then follow the rest of the way through. You can find this online. I hope you can see this one. So this is actually a wheel of emotions. This one it's called the Code Chart Feelings Wheel for Expanding Emotional Vocabulary. So just helping you, like if you have anger or if you're in sadness. So his main emotions on here, this is actually a Dr. Bradley Nelson chart. It came from the emotion code or one of those. So he's got powerful, joyful, peaceful on the positive side. And on the negative side, he's got scared, mad, and sad. And then each one of these little pies on the inside expands into more emotions that you can look at. So if I'm in sad, you have ranges of emotion from guilty, ashamed, depressed, lonely, bored, and sleepy. And then those actually expand out into bashful, stupid, miserable, inadequate, inferior, apathetic. And so you would go through and just ask which part of the wheel it's in, which is the main emotion, which part of the wheel. And if you're doing the positive stuff, I would literally go through like powerful, and I would just say powerful, lock that into my system, and I would go through each one of these powerful emotions one at a time. In fact, I've done stuff like this, and lock those better things into your system. Feel them. You have to feel it. You have to feel powerful to understand powerful, yes? All right, so go through, find the feeling. Find the feeling. Here's the last one I'm going to show you. This is the emotion code chart itself. You can also find this online. I printed out this so big because I have it hanging on my wall, and I use it when I'm working with clients. If I'm looking for an emotion and I can't quite find it, I'll come to this chart. It's the same thing as the one behind me. It'll have in this first row, it'll have your organ points. So you test which row you're in first, and then you ask, is it column A or column B? And then from these columns, you can go one at a time through each one and figure out exactly what emotion it is, or you could just clear the whole group altogether. All right, so muscle testing or even asking. So I would just, when I do this, I just scan down wherever my eyes stop. Okay, we're in row 2, and then I scan across wherever it stops. We're in column A, so we're clearing anxiety, despair, disgust, nervousness, and worry. Right, so whatever that would mean to whoever you're working with, if it's yourself, to yourself, or the situation you're in. So if it's a situation, you're going to think about the situation and then scan this. Think about what you're feeling and then scan this and then come across. Think about the person you're working with if you're a practitioner. Scan this and then come across. And it'll intuitively give you good information. If you're a muscle tester, you're just muscle testing it. It actually works the same with dowsing. If you're going to douse something like this, douse to the section, douse to the area, and then douse to the specific word. I hope this helps. I'm actually a little bit over. I was trying to keep this under 10 minutes. If you have questions, concerns, comments, please leave them below. I don't mind answering those at all. And if you need help, also let me know that. If I can answer other questions, I'll do another video on this. But I do hope this helps. Subscribe to my channel. I appreciate you. And I'll be talking to you again soon. Thanks.